silver.
Great, sir. Yeah.
That might be recorded.
I joined the service 20 years later when I got out. I never kept in touch with him.
And they didn't know that.
Why don't you just tell us and we can push the button for you?
I know. I just it'd be quicker if I just run over and do it.
Simple. Hey,
She's probably been trying to get your attention.
no. She can throw something like everyone else. An eraser or a water bottle comes flying this way, you'll know.
The eraser would be okay. That's not too hard, huh?
No, when we went to school, it was eraser or chalk. They'd throw them both. My candidate.
Let's call this meeting to order. Welcome everyone to the regular Sunnyside City Council meeting for today, Monday, June 13 of 2022. At this point, I'm going to ask the city clerk to go down the roll.
Mayor Bursma.
I'm here.
Councilor Beeler.
Here.
Councilor Farmer.
Here.
Councilor Ripley.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Zucchi.
I'm here.
Councilor Hicks.
Here.
Councilor Hart. City Manager Alba. Here. City Clerk Cynthia, I am here. Finance and Administrative Services Director Horner. Here. Fire Chief Anderson. He will be late. Police Chief Escalera.
I'm here.
Public Works Director Fisher.
I'm here.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Do we have someone here to do the invocation this evening? All right, please ask you to rise for the invocation and remain standing for the pledge of allegiance.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity to be able to come before you here and bring to you the needs of our city. Father, we just think now of all of the things that are going on. We just ask you our blessing on this city. Father, we ask for wisdom for each of the city council members as they make the decisions that will affect our lives here. Father, we think of our youth especially now, and with summer coming and the time on their hands. We certainly pray for their safety, Father. We think of the things that have gone on lately, and we just ask that you protect them, that you would touch their hearts, Father, that we would once again be called the Holy City as we for. Again, we thank you for this time now in Jesus' name.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. First item of business on this evening's agenda is an oath of office, and to that end, I'm going to ask Mr. Esteban Ruiz to step forward here, and I will administer the oath of office. Please raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Esteban Ruiz.
I, Esteban Ruiz.
Being first duly sworn upon oath, depose and say.
Being first duly sworn upon oath, depose and say.
That I will well and truly perform the duties of office as a member of the Planning Commission of the City of Sunnyside, Washington.
That I will well and truly perform the office as a member of the Planning Commission of the City of Sunnyside.
To which I have been appointed, and that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
Which I have been appointed, and I will support the Constitution
Constitution of the State of Washington.
The Constitution of the State of Washington.
And the ordinances of the City of Sunnyside.
And the ordinance of the City of Sunnyside.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I take this obligation freely.
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter.
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of office on which I am about to enter.
Help me God.
So help
Welcome to the Planning Commission. It's hard. Please stay here for a second.
Hey, yes.
You gotta sign
You need to sign this as well. Here, you need to sign this as well, right here.
Yeah, stay there. Go ahead and sign. There's action pictures, you know.
Okay, we got another guy. That's for the city, so. Okay, welcome aboard. Thank you. All right, that is the fun part of this job. I enjoy that. I love to see the community members get involved, and I look forward to seeing more. We do have a list of applicants for other positions, and so if anyone knows anybody else who's interested in serving on a commission or board, please have them speak to the clerk, and she can get you all hooked up with application forms and get you on board. Next item of business, proclamation. The first one I'm going to read has to do with our Sunnyside police officers. Bear with me, there's a lot of whereases in here, and it's 3 pages long, so be patient. Whereas, being a police officer is not just a job, it is a calling. It is a commitment to service, a commitment to community, and a commitment to standards and values we hold dear. And whereas our Sunnyside police officers are essential to the peace and stability of our community, they go to work every day to protect our families and children, as well as our schools, homes, and businesses. They are a symbol to our community of honor and integrity. And whereas our Sunnyside police officers face extremely dangerous situations every day, and whereas we are seeing an alarming increase statewide and nationally in officer deaths and injuries while in the line of duty, and whereas despite this, our Sunnyside police officers continue to put on the badge and provide an exceptional level of service to our community at great risk to their personal safety and sacrifice of their families. And whereas our law enforcement professionals need community support now more than ever, and whereas we must continue to support and enable our police officers to enforce the laws in a way that keeps our community safe, and whereas recent laws have made the task of carrying out these duties much more difficult for police officers in our city and throughout this state, and whereas we have seen a dramatic increase in crime and a dramatic decrease in arrests, and whereas we call upon those within the city of Sunnyside to stand with us and pledge a solemn vow to honor, respect, and support our law enforcement agencies and those that serve with them, within them. And whereas we must come together as one city and one community, united towards a common cause of protecting those who are sworn to protect us, our police officers. Now therefore, I, Dean Grossman, Mayor of Sunnyside, Washington, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the laws of the state of Washington, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim absolute, unwavering support for our Sunnyside Police Department through the creation of the citywide movement called Sunnyside Strong. The purpose of this movement is to show overwhelming support for our Sunnyside Police Department and all law enforcement and peace officers, as well as to honor those who have recently paid the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty in service to our community. Therefore, I encourage every resident and business owner within the city of Sunnyside, and furthermore, all of those across the valley and plateau, to illuminate blue light bulbs on their home and in their businesses as a symbol of solidarity for our Sunnyside police officers. Let these lights be displayed prominently, proudly, and courageously, so that our police officers, our surrounding cities, and our state legislators will know beyond the shadow of a doubt that we live within the city of Sunnyside, stand strong with our Sunnyside Police Department and all law enforcement agencies across this great nation. In witness thereof, I have hereto set my hand and cause the seal of the city of Sunnyside to be affixed, done at the city of Sunnyside this 13th day of June in the year 2022. What has been signed. I do have one question, Madam City Manager. Where does one go to find light bulbs?
I'm not sure if Ace Hardware locally has them, but I do know that Home Depot and Lowe's carry them. And our city conveniently has some blue light bulbs that are in the neighborhoods, if anyone remembers received.
We do have blue street lights. They were not put in there intentionally, but they certainly can be used to show support as well. All right, the next proclamation I'm going to read, I want to preface by a couple of comments. As mayor of Sunnyside, I'm reading this because it is an actual thing in the state. And as I personally don't really concern myself with how people choose to live, the choices they make, the inclinations they feel in their life, whether they're sexual preferences, religious preferences, or whatever. I'm going to read this, but in my mind, it's not that big of a deal. So I may have absolutely shut down my future political career, but my political aspirations have stopped at being mayor of Sunnyside, so I think I'm going to be okay. Anyway, proclamation. Whereas we stand together with the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer community of Washington as they declare their pride in who they are, whom they love. And whereas the LGBTQ community has worked tirelessly for respect and equality, their battles have been fought in the courts from marriage equality to demanding equal protections under the law. Whereas there has been remarkable progress towards acceptance and equality in recent years, members of the LGBTQ community in the United States and around the world still face an unacceptable level of discrimination and violence. Now therefore, I, Dean Broersma, Mayor of the City of Sunnyside, Washington, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the laws of the state of Washington, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim June 2022 as LGBTQ Pride Month, so we may continue to make the case that all human beings share something fundamental in common. All of us want love and to be loved. Next item of business. Public comments. Folks, everyone is advised that they must limit their remarks to the council to 3 minutes. Council may refer items to staff to review and or research for the presentation at a future council meeting. And it is not uncommon for council members to not respond when you make your comments. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to make a comment this evening? Please approach the microphone, state your city of residence, state your statement.
Jim Stevens, 228 Grandview Avenue, Sunnyside, Washington, representing the iWatch group. First, I'll represent myself, and I agree with Dean, and I'll vote for you for Governor, Dean. If your political career goes on beyond that. And the message tonight was, for me, was about crime in the community and community support, which our iWatch intends to do. Your statement about the police and Sunnyside Strong is exactly who iWatch is. We definitely support the police 100%. We're appalled at what the governor has sent down as far as the laws and handcuff our. However, we also know that our citizens can work with the police, and we can empower them in ways that we actually couldn't be as effective previously. And so some ways that we can do that is, first of all, we need some communication. There's not a lot of communication coming from the city, from the police department to the community. What's going on at Granding Avenue, for instance? What happened up there? And then essentially there's a lot of other things that go on in the community, the number of shootings that go on. We need to be appraised of all this information. When I went up by Granding Avenue, there were an incredible number of people who were very interested in our iWatch group and joining our iWatch group. They're afraid, concerned, disgusted, and we know we have a shortage of police officers, but this is a way that we can help support our police officers with more numbers. Some of the ways we have is, number one, let's put the laws in force that we can actually enforce. We have a lot of mufflers going around. Why aren't we stopping them? I have no idea why we're not stopping them. We can work with that. Let's get some noise meters, let's take care of it. There's dark windows that are beyond the state ordinance. Why aren't we stopping those vehicles? We have a lot of dogs that are barking all over. I hear the excuse that, well, the Humane Society won't be here, et cetera. That's not a good excuse anymore. That's been going on for 3 years. And it's disturbing. We get
30
calls
seconds,
all
sir.
the time about it. Thank you. We get calls about that continually from neighbors, and they're afraid to say anything about it. Well, tell them to call. They're not going to do it. I've been here for 73 years or something like that, and you're just not going to call. So we need to work together. I propose getting a meeting together. How can we distinctly and definitely help our city government and our police to actually empower some of these laws that they can't do themselves? Mr. Stevens, thank you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Gloria Mendoza, Mayor of the City of Grandview. Although I'm here to celebrate Steve's Day, I think you did great selecting Steve Lewis as to be on the planning commission. But you got some wonderful people, so I just wanted to say good evening and introduce myself. I went to school with Elizabeth, so really proud of you. Jackie, of course, she's at one time I worked with Jackie, and everyone that's here. Of course, Julia, Jim, I grew up in the Lower Valley, so I know most of you. I just want to congratulate you for the work you do. You have a great team, and so I'm really just here to support Steve tonight. But thank you for allowing me to introduce myself. Steve, I'm very proud of you, and I look forward to the great things that you can do for the city of Sunnyside. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Any others who'd like to speak? Hearing none, moving on to the next item, the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of the following. Minutes. Approve the minutes of the March 14, 2022 regular meeting. Approve the minutes of March 28, 2022 regular meeting. Payroll vouchers. Approve payroll vouchers numbers 119096 through 119100 and wire transfers as listed for $640,042.09 for the period ending May 25, 2022. Claim vouchers. Approve claim voucher numbers 103680 through 103742 and wire transfers as listed for $411,912.92 for the period ending on May 25, 2022. Approve claim voucher numbers 103743 through 103771 and wire transfers as listed for $137,132.74 for the period ending June 1, 2022. Approve claim voucher numbers 103772 through 103822 and wire transfers as listed for $289,078.69 for the period ending on June 8, 2022. Council members, is there an item that any of you would like to remove from the consent agenda? Hearing none, what is the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hicks. Correct. Okay. Second by Councilor Hart to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there debate on this item? Hearing none, Madam City Clerk, would you please go down the roll for the vote?
Counselor Hart?
Yes.
Counselor Farmer?
Yes.
Counselor Hicks?
Yes.
Counselor Bueller?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Masucci?
Yes.
Mayor Burisma?
Yes.
Counselor Ripley?
Yes.
Mayor, you have 7 yes votes.
Thank you. Motion is approved. Active agenda. Item A, probation services agreement. Consider authorizing the city manager to renew the agreement with Yakima County District Court for probation services. Madam City Manager.
I will turn this over to Gina T. Horner for review.
Good evening, council. This is kind of a housekeeping issue. We actually have a contract with Yakima County to handle our probation services for our court, and we failed to get this renewed at the beginning of the year. So they have called us and said, please renew your contract so you can start paying us as you're supposed to.
and approve the agreement.
Council members, any questions?
Um,
Sorry.
there isn't any change in the probation amounts, correct?
That's correct. They actually redo the, amount based on previous cases for the previous year. And so on page 1 of the contract, it lists those numbers, but they're in line with how they have always been
Okay,
the last few years.
okay, thank you.
Other questions? Hearing none, what is the desire of council on this item?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
All right, we've got a motion by Councilor Ripley, a second by Councilor Hart, to authorize the city manager to renew the agreement with the Yakima County District Court for probation services. Debate on this item? Madam City Clerk, you go down the roll for the vote, please.
Councilor Beeler,
Yes.
Councilor Hicks,
Yes.
Councilor Farmer,
Yes.
Councilor Hart,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Tucci,
Yes.
Councilor Ripley,
Yes.
Mayor Bartow,
Yes.
Mayor, there's 7 yes votes.
Thank you, motion carries. Item B, purchase and sale of building agreement. Consider authorizing the city manager to sign a purchase and sale of building agreement with the Sunnyside School District for the Choices Building. Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is the building that sits in the parking lot here at the Lawn Justice Center, and it was a joint grant that was made possible from the Department of Commerce. The school district no longer has a use for it, so they are releasing their interest, and the city will have full ownership to do as they please.
Council members, questions or comments on this item? Ms. Hart?
Yes, I'm just curious, as to have we already decided what we're going to do with that building? Should we purchase it?
Yes, it's already being used by the police department for, I believe, their detectives.
For the detectives' offices? Or-
Correct, their offices.
Okay. And there's a pretty big room, aren't there 2 rooms basically in that building?
I've left it to the police chief to decide the exact use. I believe one side will be used for training and have mats, and then the other side was offices.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions or comments? Hearing none, what is the desire of council on this item?
I move to approve. Second.
Motion by Councilor Hicks, second by Councilor Beeler, to authorize the city manager to sign a purchase and sale of building agreement with the Sunnyside School District for the Choices Building. Debate on this item? Hearing none, Madam City Clerk, you go down the roll for the vote, please.
Deputy Mayor Tucci,
Yes.
Councilor Beeler,
Yes.
Councilor Hicks,
Yes.
Councilor Ripley,
Yes.
Councilor Hart,
Yes.
Councilor Farmer,
Yes.
Mayor Bartow,
Yes.
Mayor, there's 7 yes votes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Item C, classification and compensation update. Consider adopting an ordinance updating the classification and compensation schedule to include an additional HR generalist and the creation of a crime and forensic analyst. Madam City Manager.
And I will give this item to Ms. Warner for review.
Thank you, Mayor, City Manager, and City Council. City Council recently approved a plan for using the American Rescue Plan Act funds to add full-time staff people, I think 10 full-time employees. And under that program, we're going to integrate those jobs into the city as we can between now and when the funds expire in 2024. So this is kind of the first round of the ones that were pretty easy to put in play that we really need ASAP. The first one on there that you have a job description for is the crime and forensic analysis. This was listed on the ARPA funds as an evidence technician, but we kind of refined it with the police department of exactly what he wanted that position to look like. And so this job description was created with HR and the police department to figure out what exactly suits their needs. And then the other position is the HR generalist, which is the same. We currently have somebody in this position. The title right now is a human resources assistant. So in addition to doing this, there's no changes in salary or anything, but we did update the job description to better encompass the duties that she actually
actually does, before we actually hire the next person. That will make it nice and clean for us, so. I can answer any questions for you guys.
Council, questions for Ms. Horner?
Do we not already have a crime analyst, in the PD?
The current job right now is actually evidence tech / crime analyst. So when we went and put that on the ARPA fund, what we were intending to ask for was an additional one of those. But when we actually sat down with the chief about what he needed right now, they need more of that full-time crime analyst person. And then the second one, we actually have somebody on staff, that is qualified to fall into that side of the job description. And so then we'll actually go out for hire for the evidence technician side. Does that make sense? So yes, we do have a crime analyst.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right now, she has a split job title. Make everything complicated, don't I?
Further questions, Ms. Hart?
Oh, I just want to make sure that I understand this, what you basically have there are two positions.
That are being proposed right now, correct?
No, I mean,
Oh,
an crime analysis person, as you
Yes.
said, tech,
Yes, there's
and then you
currently,
said analysis.
yes, there's currently one person and her job title is crime analyst / evidence technician. And the police department said that they needed an additional person to do that work. But instead of having one person do both jobs, we're splitting the / and having two separate jobs, crime analyst and evidence technician.
So there's already the evidence technician.
The person is doing both jobs.
No, but future reference here. What you're asking for now is you're asking, we already have the crime evidence person.
Yes.
And then secondly, we will have with this job description and whatever that was.
Yes,
That name, what was
the
it?
crime and forensic analyst. So the job description that we have currently that has the crime analyst and evidence technician job title, will actually remain the same because there are some duties that will be, done by that will mainly be evidence tech work that have to do with the crime analyst part, actually in supporting our current employees. So we're leaving that one the same and basically developing this new job description to better meet the needs of the police department.
So in fact, two people,
Correct. We're only adding one person, but it's two separate jobs.
two jobs.
So-
Thank you.
So if I understand this correctly, Dennis, since we have a crime analyst and an evidence tech in one person right now, you want to hire a second person to be a full-on crime and forensic analyst while this tech continues to be able to do a little bit of both jobs.
Actually kind of the opposite, and that's why it's so confusing. We are going to hire an evidence technician, as we asked for on the ARPA funding, and our current employee will be reclassified as the crime analyst.
That's what we were getting at.
Yes.
That's what I was trying to
Yes.
ascertain.
So the job description in front of you is a new job description, but the person that we'll be hiring will actually be an evidence technician. We're just updating the entire classification and compensation schedule for this new position.
Any other questions?
Just a comment. I'm a little concerned. We're hiring people with one-time money. And I am really concerned about hiring a bunch of people with one-time money, because we are going to have to find some way to pay for these people after the money leaves. So I just gotta throw that out here, that it concerns me that we're on a hiring spree on one-time money, and it bothers me.
Would you like me to respond? We are working on funding these positions on more of a long-term basis. In fact, the crime and forensic analyst position is something that other area cities have indicated that they may have an interest in, sort of contracting with us potentially, but that's just in the works for right now. So, that and several of the other positions that were included in the ARPA fund, including the grant writer, I can't think of the other ones off the top of my head. In the police department, there was you would know, the first responders, the mental health crisis responders, there you go. Those ones are all positions that we're hoping that will be of use to the Lower Valley in general, that may be able to help, the long term keep those positions in place. So we are looking at a lot of different options to try and keep these in place but we do need to hire them now and work on that.
And if it's any help at all, I have had conversations with other area mayors and council members who indicated that they could enthusiastically support a partnership with the city of Sunnyside on something like that. So there's a recognized need in other cities as well. So, and these were things that we had the opportunity to talk about before, and I do think personally that we're going in the right direction with this. We need to get our crimes cleaned up quickly. We need an analyst to make sure that we can spot trends and stay on top of these things. We've been requested for these sorts of things a number of times over the last few years, and we've always found excuses not to, and we were constantly warned that we would find ourselves in exactly the situation that we're finding ourselves now. So, I am putting, I guess in my favoring this, I'm putting my faith in Ms. Horner and our city manager here to be able to find the ongoing funding for these positions. I do believe they're important. I don't think we hire slackers and staff, so I think that we're gonna see some results of this. But Mr. Farmer's questions are legitimate. I think we do need to be seriously concerned about not hiring somebody for this year. We want to hire them for 10, 15, 20 years down the road. We want them to be able to make a career out of this if they so desire. So. Anybody else have any more comments? All right, you look like you're desperately wanting to say something.
I'm just waiting on the info. I didn't want to be hogging the mic here. Basically though, I think this business of, we always four-mouth ourselves into benign neglect of what we need to do in protecting our community. So I think that going forward with the ARPA monies, ARPA monies, to begin the process of hiring people who can do these jobs. And as we already know, there are other communities, as the mayor said, who are interested in partnering with us, we bear part of that cost. But in the end, with a grant writer on staff, which I'm heartily in favor of, that person could be looking for money that the department heads don't have time to look for. And there's all those monies out there for data and crime analysis. There's all those monies out there for economic development and handicap street things. I mean, and as far as Park and Rec as well, I mean, there's money out there that we have. And I'm just speaking in favor of long-term use of the ARPA money. So I'm really in favor of these two job descriptions which you're proposing here tonight. I appreciate you going to the work to explain to us.
Further questions or comments? Mr. Farmer?
Just one comment. This would be a position that I would be in favor of. But I am concerned that we're looking to hire a bunch of people, and I am concerned about that.
Mr. Mayor, we're getting dangerously close to debate here.
Is that a motion?
You are correct. So not debating here, I have one question I'd like to ask for clarification. When you were talking about the HR generalist, you talked about we have an assistant HR, and you want to change the title. And then you mentioned for an incoming HR person, are we talking about hiring a second HR person to be, so we'll have two HR generalists?
Correct.
Okay.
So we currently have the one that does the job, and frankly, one person for a city this size, it's crazy that we've made it this far without getting sold down the river multiple times. But, yeah, so we're bringing them in, it'll be exactly the same person, the job is just better classified as an HR general.
Thank you. Further questions or comments? Hearing none, what is the desire of council on this question?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we adopt these descriptions.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilor Hart, a second by Councilor Ripley to adopting an ordinance updating the classification and compensation schedule to include an additional HR generalist and the creation of the crime and forensic analyst. Now, debate on this item.
In a sense, we've already pretty well debated it.
We were getting close. We weren't quite there yet, as Deputy Mayor indicated. I don't think you would allow us to get beyond the line.
We were on the line, but it was okay, especially when Mr. Farmer took the microphone for the second time there. We're really going back and forth at that point. But I have no real debate here, Mr. Mayor, but I do have a question of the manager, and that is, how is this going to affect our participation in the YV Cogs Regional Crime Center?
Well, it'll basically mean that we will have our stuff ready to go if they decide to do that program and we decide to enter into it. I don't think they're quite ready for that yet, so our need is urgent.
Understood.
Can I follow up
Sure.
on that particular question? In as much as that the YV Cog Crime Center that we've been talking about for the last year or so. So with what we're putting into play here with those two job assignments, it will actually help towards, as we go forward for the other cities, and what that's supposed to look like, the crime analysis, the forensic evidence stuff, and maybe more of a help towards those folks who are coming into that.
It could be, yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm speculating on that, but I would hope so.
Well, and I would hope we would be able to do that, because I'm not a big fan of reinventing the wheel and doing things, multiple layers doing the same thing. I think that complicates things, so if any way that we can mesh with what the county is doing, I think that would be beneficial for everyone involved. And I think we need to be on the lookout for opportunities to do that. But as has been mentioned, I don't think the YV Cog is quite ready to take on the role. They're getting there, at least I hope so. I hope that happens soon. But this need in the city of Sunnyside is relatively urgent. We need to get on top of some of these crimes that are going on and get on top of them quickly. And I think having these people in place would greatly help. Further debate on this item? All right, Madam City Clerk, would you please take the roll for the vote?
Councilor Ripley,
Yes.
Mayor Burisma,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Tucci,
Yes.
Councilor Beeler,
Yes.
Councilor Hicks,
Yes.
Councilor Farmer,
Yes.
Councilor Hart,
Yes.
Mayor, there's 7 yes votes.
Thank you, motion passes. Item D, ARPA seed funding request, Project King. Consider approving a resolution authorizing the city manager to submit a funding application for both ARPA and seed programs to offset the cost of construction, public infrastructure for Project King. Madam City Manager.
I'm actually going to turn this over to Stephanie Ray from HLA, and she is going to present this for me.
Stephanie.
Mayor, members of council, city manager, public works director, having here tonight. So behind this one agenda bill, there's 2 resolutions. And I'll go ahead and start with the resolution that's first in your council packet, which is for ARPA funding. We all remember from maybe a few weeks ago, during a planning study session, we talked about Project Kane and the needed off-site improvements that are needed to serve not only the project, but also economic development southside of 82. So the ARPA application is the application through Yakima County. It's due June 24th. We're proposing to submit a $1 million application for public infrastructure for Project Kane. That's a combination of sewer, water, between industrial sewer and sanitary sewer. And industrial sewer will be owned by the Port of Sunnyside, sanitary by the city, domestic water and fire from the city, and also potential for a transportation improvement needed for that development. That application again is due June 24th. The commissioners will take about 3 months to review incoming applications, and we should receive notice of funding award around September, October of this year.
Council members, questions or comments? Mr. Farmer.
I'm sorry. I know, and I couldn't hear you very well. I know Commissioner Lindy and many of the other commissioners, the other 2 commissioners, have both spoke that they want to tie in, help with money. Do we have some of the county ARPA money involved in this project also?
Yes, this application actually is for the county ARPA funding program. And we have met with all 3 commissioners separately to discuss this project and its individual needs. And at the time of those 3 separate meetings, each commissioner, although we can't say, yes, we're going to get it, but they were favorable to the project and its totality.
Further questions or comments? Hearing none, what is the desire of council on this item?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilor Hicks, second by Councilor Ripley to approve a resolution authorizing the city manager to submit a funding application for both ARPA and seed programs to offset the cost to construct public infrastructure for Project Kane. Debate on this item. Sorry.
I'm really excited about the project. I was just reading again that it's 175 new jobs to Sunnyside. It's a really nice, salary there, $51,000 some odd dollars. So, anything we can do to move that baby along, I'm thoroughly in favor of that.
Thank you, Ms. Hart. Other comments? Debate? Okay, Madam City Clerk, would you please go down and roll the vote?
Councilor Ripley,
Yes.
Mayor Borisman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Tucci,
Yes.
Councilor Hart,
Yes.
Councilor Farmer,
Yes.
Councilor Beeler,
Yes.
Councilor Hicks,
Yes.
Mayor, there's 7 yes votes.
Thank you, motion is passed.
And then a part of this agenda item, we have a second resolution that is the seed application. I'll turn that over to Stephanie.
Mr. Mayor, Council, City Manager, Public Works Director again, thank you. The second resolution in here is, for submission of a seed application to the Yakima County Development Association for the same project, Project Kane. And the seed board requires a separate resolution, for application submission, basically stating that the application is being submitted with having city council knowledge on behalf of the city manager. So that's the reason for the second resolution. But, the seed program, what we're looking to do is, we'll submit the application. We have approval to do a special seed board meeting with YCDA for the seed board to vote on this project. We intend to ask the seed board for 100% grant instead of 1 million loan, 1 million grant. And as stated in here, really, it's the worst case scenario of 1 million loan. So what we plan to do is, if that is the unfortunate ruling of the seed board, then we'll be working for alternate funding sources for that $1 million loan. What isn't noted in here is that there is a match requirement for seed. So it's a total funding package of $2.4 million. Seed board requires a 20% match. That 20% match is currently, what do you want to say, spoken for, thankfully, by the Port of Sunnyside. So the port is coming in to do that $400,000 cash match, or it can be right-of-way easements or other material in kind to support the project. So for the seed application, what we propose to do is submit, based on our timing, submit the seed application after the ARPA application, which in your packets, you see a letter from YCDA, from Jonathan Smith. And that letter is a letter of support in favor. We'll submit that with the ARPA application, but YCDA support for this project, not only for ARPA, but also for seed. And we understand, there's some level of ambiguity with this business, and there's several non-disclosure agreements that are floating around. So while we can't disclose all the information about this business yet, know that at least with YCDA, they have full support in this project. The $2.4 million would also go toward offsetting the off-site improvements for sanitary sewer, industrial sewer, domestic and fire water, as well as transportation improvement. Any questions?
So I just want to make a comment that the vote just covered both the ARPA and the seed programs. The motion was for both of them, but I wanted you to have the opportunity to give your information. We've already voted on and approved this. I don't know if anybody wants to, or feels the need to make any comments at this point.
I'd just like to make a comment.
Go ahead, Mr. Beaver.
this is not only just gonna be for this, business coming in, but this develops the whole area for future businesses.
That is correct. This is us thinking long-term.
Amen.
All right, so since we've already voted on that, we're going to carry on with item E, and I want to thank you, Stephanie, for your presentation and your information. You've been extremely helpful through this entire project, so. Item E, 2023 through 2028 six-year transportation program public hearing to receive public comments on the proposed six-year transportation improvement program. This public hearing is for the purpose of receiving comments on the 2023 through 2028 six-year transportation program. This public hearing is now open as of 7:14. Before hearing from the public, is there not a statement that I'm supposed to read here?
The hearing statement.
Yeah, is there not a hearing statement here? Once in a while, there's a glitch in the matrix and something disappears. That's fine. It's big, so I can read it. A little smaller than the mini set.
Oh, go ahead.
Technically efficient, uses all the space she has. All right, well, let's see how well we do here. Okay, this statement has to be read before every public hearing. This public hearing is being conducted on the Sunnyside Transportation Improvement Program, the appearance, fairness, disclosures. The concern is that this hearing be fair in form and substance as well as appearance. Council members, do any of you have a conflict of interest concerning this issue? Do any of you stand to gain financial benefit as a result of the outcome of this hearing? If your answer is yes, please speak now. Audience members, at this time, we would ask the audience if there is any objection to my participation or any other council member's participation in these proceedings. Hearing none, this public hearing is now open. Okay, before hearing from the public, the city manager will present the staff report. City manager.
I'm going to pass this over to Stephanie Ray with HLA.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, city manager, public works director, thank you again. So we are here to talk about the six-year transportation improvement program. This is a regulatory process required by WashDOT, municipalities, to go through every year. So this year we're talking about the next 6 years, so it'll be 2023 through 2028. Cities are required to adopt a six-year transportation program at the local level. After adoption, it is submitted to YV-COG as part of the MTIP-RTIP. Any projects that may have federal funding are then forwarded on by YV-COG to the STIP, which is the six-year state transportation improvement program. Complicated, but it is quite a process. The forms in your packet are the regulatory forms. We don't really have the option of changing the look. We have pull-down boxes which we select from, so please, if you have any questions on that, we'll be happy to answer them. I think most of you have seen the TIP multiple years, mainly currently as last year. So most of the projects on there are carryovers. We are working on the 6th Street Improvement Project, which will be under construction next year. That project will drop off. But new projects that were added this year include, under a box is priority number. You know that that's not a priority ranking for the project. Every project is ranked EPA and DOT size. So the new projects include project 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. And if it's council's desire, I can briefly walk you through those projects. But know that the majority of them were added based on current funding opportunities, including a city safety program that the city did earlier this year. The city has received callbacks from WashDOT to actually fund a portion of those projects. So that's why you see those projects on there. Likewise, council had asked us to look at the Midville and Alexander intersection for this congestion, and so we added an intersection improvement project. Have any questions? I'll be happy to answer those.
Well, at this point, public comments will now be received. Those wishing to provide testimony, please approach the microphone, state your name and city of residence, and provide your comments. And then after the public, then the council will have an opportunity to comment. Any members in the audience wish to comment? Hearing none. Council members, any comments or questions on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I just need to place on the record as chair of the COG, I will be signing off on this document when it leaves us.
Thank you, sir. We are privileged to have the chair of the COG as a member of our council, and I think that has been beneficial for both the COG and the city of Sunnyside, to be honest. Other comments from council members? All right. Therefore, if there's no comments, then the public testimony portion of this hearing is now closed as of 7:20. Moving on to the next item then, the 2023-2028 six-year transportation program. Consider approving a resolution adopting the 2023 through 2028 six-year transportation improvement program. Madam City Manager, any further comments that you or your staff would like to make on this?
I think we pretty much covered it. Now it's just up to you guys whether you pass it or not.
Okay. Well, thank you for the information again that you provided. Council members, questions or comments still? Hearing none, what is the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Beeler, second by Councilor Hart, to approve a resolution adopting the 2023 to 2028 six-year transportation improvement program. Debate on this item. Hearing no debate, Madam City Clerk, please do the vote.
Councilor Ripley,
Yes.
Mayor Burisma,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Tucci,
Yes.
Councilor Beeler,
Yes.
Councilor Hicks,
Yes.
Councilor Farmer,
Yes.
Councilor Hart,
Yes.
Mayor, there's 7 yes votes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Item G, real estate excise tax revenues. Consider approving the expenditures to Van Wiggeren Landscaping for irrigation installation in Central Park around the skate park and to Lower Valley Trails and Recreation Pathway. Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. So this item is twofold. It's asking that we fund from our REAP 2 money 2 projects. One of them has actually been completed. That is the skate park landscaping. And that would be in support of the skate park. Van Wiggeren came in and installed the underground sprinklers and then did the landscaping around it that needed to be done. So I think it's critical that we support that skate park and those improvements. And then the second one is from Lower Valley Trails Recreation Pathway Board. And I have 2 of the gentlemen on the board here tonight, and if you'd like them to speak, I would ask if that would be okay, but you'd have to make that decision.
Council members, is there any objection to allowing these gentlemen to speak, if they so desire?
I move to suspend the rules and let them speak.
Second.
Motion and a second to suspend the rules. And we're going to do a little more informal vote on this one. All in favor of suspending the rules for this, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, no. I too vote aye. The rules are suspended for this item. Gentlemen, if you wish to make comments, you're certainly welcome to do so. Please approach the microphone and state your name and city of residence. Make your comment.
Council and Madam City Manager. I'm Gary Martin. I live here in Sunnyside. I don't know how many of you are aware that there has been a pathway board active in this community for over 30 years. Does anybody know that? We're quiet. there's only a few of us. And when I say over 30 years, that's the age of the pathway now. Speaking of the pathway between Sunnyside and Grandview. And of course, over the years, it's been used more and more. Particularly during COVID, it was used a lot. It's the only pathway we have where you can go and not be, in danger of blocking our road. Well, this pathway is coming to the end of its life. Someone told us this week that the road is like along the pathway. It was like riding on a railroad track. There's cracks. It's simply worn out. Our board has decided to apply for those famous ARC funds, which are coming up soon. And I'm here today as a representative of the board to ask for some of those REAP funds the city has. We can show on our application for ARC, which would be to repave the entire pathway. Then we'd like to get contributions from Sunnyside and Grandview, as well as, some other organizations and people in both communities, so that we can repave that pathway and have it good for another 20, 30 years. We appreciate the city, and we're looking for a contribution, a minimum of $50,000. And that would go along with funds that Grandview is also looking to contribute, and maybe the Port District and some others that we're trying to get a few funds to show on our application that we can repave the pathway. Total cost of the pathway repaving is going to be north of $1 million, and I feel well worth it, numbers. We also appreciate and would appreciate any in-kind contributions from the city, such as help from our good public works director or city engineer to help oversee maybe some construction on the pathway. So both funds and some in-kind donations from the city. Any questions from anyone on the council about it?
Council questions for Dr. Martin? I'm sorry.
I'm just curious, over the years, I worked with the ladies who began that.
Yeah.
The Novella Club started that 30 years ago, and they was helped with that, at least to publicize and get that out there. So when you talked about this coming to the end of it, are there any improvements that you see besides paving over and repaving the pathway itself?
There are a couple other improvements. I don't know if you've noticed the two really nice benches with the little shade overhang. They're really nice ones. If we can slip 2 or 3 more of those in over the length of the pathway, that would make it uniform and I think a really nice. We're not looking at any other special structures or anything along the way. Over the years, we've concentrated mostly on keeping it weed-free. Cardboard sprays weeds and pays to have, the weeds taken care of. We pick up trash. Members of our board picked up tons of trash, along the pathway. And so, we want the surface to be good long surface.
All right, thank you, sir.
Well, I wanted to recognize, another board member, Leroy Workhoven is here with me. Another strong member of that committee. Has been there for years.
All right, thank you, sir.
I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
Veterans Weekend, I spent a couple hours with Leroy, put flags on the grave, and I got an earful of what they've been doing for 30 years. And I had to drive up Yakima Valley Highway to Grandview, and it's like every 12 feet, there's a 2-inch crack all the way across the whole way. It needs to be repaired. I am really surprised, especially in the morning, how many people walk it and ride it. and park by the golf course and walk that way. 10 years ago, my daughter and I would start at park in the Walmart parking lot and walk it. It's safe, it's off the road, there's no cars gonna hit you. It's a very nice walk. I get people in the RV park that come in, and they all have bikes, some of them have those electric bikes. I say, get on 16th Street and start the trail, and they love it. So it's well used.
No, I see people on that trail all the time, especially in the mornings. Summertime and afternoons gets a little bit intense, but the mornings are always really nice. And it has been for the last 30 years a great addition to the community. I think the last time I was on it with a bicycle, I don't prefer to ride bicycle, but the last time I was on it with a bicycle, I think my now 32-year-old daughter was about 7. So I'm certain the cracks have opened up greatly. I have no doubt in my mind that they're there. So,
If I could offer just one piece of information. I ran a report for this fund, and our current balance as of May 31st is $766,102.62. And that would be revenues collected through the end of May. We still have the rest of the year. So there is capacity in this fund to allow this.
okay, that's pertinent information as well. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, what is the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve. No second.
All right, we got a motion by Councilor Beeler, second by Councilor Hicks to approve the expenditures to the Wiggerton landscaping for irrigation installation in Central Park, around the skate park, and to Lower Valley Trails and Recreation Pathway. Debate on this item. Hearing none, Madam City Clerk, are you on the roll for the vote, please?
Deputy Mayor Tucci,
Yes.
Mayor Barsney,
Yes.
Councilor Ripley,
Yes.
Councilor Hicks,
Yes.
Councilor Beeler,
Yes.
Councilor Farmer,
Yes.
Councilor Hart,
Yes.
Mayor has 7 yes votes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Item H, judgment summary, Jeremy Reynolds. Excuse me. Consider authorizing the expenditure of $15,000 to settle the judgment summary for Jeremy Reynolds. Madam City Manager.
So this is a public records lawsuit that was brought forward from Jeremy Reynolds. And basically during our time when our emails were down, a records request was not answered timely. And so the potential that we could have had fined, and that would be $53,800 plus attorney fees. So this settlement is for $15,000, and they absolutely cannot come back and ask for anything. This will be the last we see of this case.
Council members, questions or comments? No questions or comments?
I have a comment. It turns my stomach.
And Mr. Farmer, I believe it does anyone that is on the staff of the city as well.
Other questions from council members? Hearing none, what is the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilor Hart, a second by Councilor Beeler to authorize the expenditure of $15,000 to settle the judgment summary for Jeremy Reynolds. Debate on this item. I think the general position of not only council but everybody on staff has already been expressed. So, Madam City Clerk, would you please go down the list for the vote?
Councilor Hart,
Yes.
Councilor Farmer,
No.
Councilor Hicks,
Yes.
Councilor Beeler,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Tucci,
No.
Mayor Barsney,
Yes.
Councilor,
Yes.
there's 5 yes votes and 2 no votes by Deputy Mayor Tucci and Councilor Farmer.
Thank you. Opinion of the chair, the motion carries. Hate these kinds of things.
Money grab.
All right. Item I, Sunnyside Municipal Code 9.02.010 amendment. Consider approving an ordinance amending the Sunnyside Municipal Code, as already read, pertaining to the criminal code. Madam City Manager.
So this is a request from the Sunnyside Prosecutor's Office and the we will eventually be adding, or basically revamping the entire chapter, but we are, having a little bit of a section at 9.03.010. Sorry, on the cover, it has the wrong number. This will basically adopt the RCWs, but then also keep our code intact in some of the areas. But this way, they can prosecute no contact order violations and domestic violence violations. And so when we get ready to do the rest of the changes to Title IX, I'm going to bring it forward at a workshop so that we have a chance to go through it very in depth so that we know what we're changing. But this one just gives us the ability to make sure that we can bring those two very serious things forward and prosecute them.
Thank you. Council members, questions or comments?
Yes, the question is, are these new changes within the penal code, or?
The state has made the changes to the RCW, and our code does not match what the state has. And so if we adopt the RCW, then we're adopting what the state has.
Thank you. Just needed that clarification.
Further questions or comments? Hearing none, what's the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve.
Second?
We've got a, motion by Councilor Hicks, second by Councilor Hart to approve an ordinance amending the Sunnyside Municipal Code 9.03.1.010 pertaining to the criminal code. It's debate on this item. Hearing none, Madam City Clerk, please go down the roll for the vote.
Councilor Ripley,
Yes.
Mayor Burisma,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Stucci,
Yes.
Councilor Bueller,
Yes.
Councilor Hicks,
Yes.
Councilor Farmer,
Yes.
Councilor Hart,
Yes.
Mayor, there's 7 yeas votes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Mr. Mayor,
Excuse me.
point of order, just so you know, when you pass an ordinance, sir, you're supposed to say, state for the record, this ordinance and ordinance summary have been adopted.
Very well. This ordinance and ordinance summary have been adopted. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Items from council members. Mayor's appointments for boards and commissions. Well, obviously, we had the swearing-in ceremony this evening for Mr. Ruiz, which is exciting. We've got a couple other on the list. I just got, the last few days, I had a application from Leticia Sandoval for our Community and Economic Development Commission. And so we've got another one that we're looking at. I've got a few others in the pipeline. And I was made aware that there's somebody who's waiting to be reappointed. So I'm going to be making contact on that one as well. So again, I'm enthused by the members of the community who are wishing to serve and continue serving. So, but again, there's always room for people to serve. So I encourage you to jump in, especially since it's a great training ground for being future council members, as we're not going to be council members forever. And we will certainly need new blood here at one time or another. So if anybody knows of anybody who's interested or hears rumors of anybody interested, please speak to them, speak to me, let me speak to them, whatever the case may be. Council request status report. Madam City Manager.
So there's really not anything major to update to the council request status report. Obviously, the tree replacement plan, we're still waiting for HLA to finish, and they have a lot of other stuff going on. So it's been put on the list of projects, but it's not something that we have ready to go yet. The Roger Brooks plan, still working on different things that we want to do. The wayfinding signage, Destination Sunnyside is working with us on that. Water tower, I reached out to Chase and haven't heard back from him, so as soon as I have an update there, I will let you know. And then I'll let Mr. Fisher talk about the speed limit on my BH.
Yeah, if it would stop raining and wind blowing, we'd go out and get the did buy some of the super huge speed limit signs, we'll be putting those up. We did get the bridge load rating signs, finally got those up. We're in compliance with DOT. Hopefully here in the next couple of weeks, we'll start seeing some.
And then, one that's not on your list that I would like to address, we've had quite a few, complaints about weeds in the right of way. And, Shane and I discussed it today, and the biggest issue we have, is obviously the rain has accelerated their growth and then made it hard for us to apply pesticide. And then Shane let me know that if the wind is more than 3 miles per hour, we can't spray. So we've had the worst spraying for rain and wind, and we know that there are weeds in the right of way. We could plan a weed whack party, but then we would be doing union work, so we have to be very careful treading on that. But I do encourage citizens, if you see a weed and you want to pull it, go for it.
You know, I watched last week the city truck come and they sprayed the street beside my house, and I happened to see them. I was outside, and I came home from a weekend away last night, and the rain was just coming down like crazy, and that was not the first time since they had come by with that truck. And I thought, you know, all that spray just washed away. And it went right along with the spray that I put on my property, trying to get my weeds to stay under control. So yeah, we can all feel the same frustration. It has been a difficult year, so. Any items council needs to add or would like to add to the, council request status report?
I think we should add the, blue city lights on. It's not too bad in the summertime, but those lights are so dull, they just don't illuminate anything. Pretty color, but I'd really like to see those changed out before winter hits and it gets dark real early again.
Okay, Mr. Fisher.
I can speak on that. We do have a call in already to, Pacific Power, and we set up a program to, Pacific Power TIB to put those lights up. So, I put a call in probably 2 months ago, City of Granby put a call in probably 6 months ago. They're still going to get theirs changed out. So, of course, they did a pretty wide, replacement program for all the cities in the valley. We're all in the same boat, so we're all kind of in a holding pattern until they get that figured out. And it's not necessarily Pacific Power's issue, but they did fund the project along with TIB. And so now they're having to go after the vendors that actually supplied the ballast that are going bad. So I think there's probably some legalities going on that end before they can cut in. It is on our radar.
I don't think it has to be on the list if people are after it.
Right. And in the meantime, it's our citywide support for our police officers or
Yes.
something like that. But yeah, sure, the light is very dim. It's, especially in the wintertime, it is really difficult to see. And I'm sure the police are really unhappy with it.
Also, when it rains, it's very difficult to see too. And can I add something? We've had several comments.
If you could speak to the microphone, sorry.
I am so sorry. Yes, I just, maybe we can add to the, or maybe it's not place, put the status report on the code enforcement, and the animal, control issues. Can we speak to those, or do we share them on the status report, or?
So I can speak, on both of those right now if you'd like. So as far as animal control, we've, had very many people express their desire to do something different. So today I spoke to our city attorney, and we're going to be reviewing that contract and see if we're able to not have Humane Society anymore. We are allowed to private contract with anyone we would like, so we may go to some of these rescue operations that are already doing this kind of work and ask if they'd be interested, and we'll go from there. And it may be possible that we do an RFP. And then lastly, so City of Crossers has an animal control, and I'm thinking about reaching out to them and asking them if they'd be interested in helping us out. So those are the things that are occurring right now on animal control. We've had a lot of people dissatisfied with Humane Society. So I think that is something that we will be moving towards. And then code enforcement this last week, worked with the police department and actually walked an entire city street, tagging, coding, and ended up talking to every homeowner. And so this is the approach that we're going to take from now on, and try to get our problem areas cleaned up. So that's the start, but we will be continuing that with our police.
Just going back to the animal control, I've been getting, as probably some of the rest of my peers here on the council, complaints about dogs barking. It they won't bark as much, and it'll sort of dull the noise. But it's spring, dogs bark, and anything that moves makes a dog bark. And, you know, I know it's very difficult to control barking dogs, but as citizens, we can each, I mean, Lady likes to bark through the window. I tell her to quit all the time, that's my dog, she's a barker. But I think that people have to be those, and you know, I even tell the neighbor's dog to quit barking, and pretty well mine. You know, I must be a dog whisperer. Anywho, but I do think as far as people complaining about barking dogs, it's kind of a wasted complaint. Unless you want to go talk to your neighbors, say, can you take your dog in at night? I have sick children or this or that or something else. Just try to be neighborly about it. I don't know what else to say, what else we can do about barking dogs.
Well, the question on barking dogs, I don't want to go too far down the line because we have an agenda here, but, question on barking dogs, just be civil to your neighbors. If you have a dog that likes to bark and it doesn't really bother you, bring it inside so it can bark with you. Some people are adversely affected by the sound of barking dogs. And I have neighbors who are that way. I sleep and don't hear a sound, so I can't say anything about it anyway. All right.
I just thought maybe that ought to be a status kind of an item, and perhaps not.
Okay. What would you like to put on the status report?
Just so maybe there's something we can do some more talk about it.
Code enforcement and dog barking? How you would like that worded?
Maybe not the code. Yeah, noise, it's part of the noise.
Okay. So we'll put something that pertains to Louisville, and I can trust Jackie to put down something that sounds really good.
Thank you,
But that deals with, noise ordinances and code enforcement, put the two of them together, so it looks very professional. Any other items that need to be added to the status report? All right, let's move on to the next item, item C. Other reports, announcements, and or questions by council members.
Mr. Mayor, I have a list.
Okay.
And I deeply appreciate the city manager and the police department for the time they spent, because some of what I'm going to say directly piggybacks on what they did. But I went to 4 community forums, and overwhelmingly, the complaint was about the police department. The complaint was about us as a city not holding our citizens accountable to being good neighbors and obeying the laws that we as a council have passed. We have an ordinance for parking on yards. We go into the noise. We have cars running around with modified exhaust. When I was a kid, I was probably one of them people that they were shaking their fingers at as they drove by their house because my car was making too much noise. But along with the modified exhaust system, which is federally illegal, and along with the exhaust, we got racing. I mean, that's if you hear a car with no exhaust, they're generally going way too fast and probably racing another car. And along with that, the loud music, there is nothing that irritates me more than sitting at a stoplight and my car is vibrating because of the car behind me or on the side of me. It's got their music cranked up so high that it disturbs me. And these are things that we need to look at. Last year, well, let's go to overgrown lots and abandoned houses. Last year, I made several complaints about a house that the weeds were actually taller than I was, and they were on both sides. It almost created a tunnel that people had to walk through on the sidewalk. Code enforcement went out. They couldn't do anything. I mean, they cited, I guess they cited, but nothing ever got done. We need to put some teeth in our ordinance. We need to, I know the city of Yakima has a community accountability board, where citizens meet together and they dole out punishments. The code enforcement comes to this thing and says, hey, these people are violating now, we have given them a correction notice and have thumbed their nose at us, and they haven't done anything. So they can go ahead and lien the property and have the nuisance removed and lien the property. I think this is something that we need to look at. Yard sales. Nothing ticks me off more Monday morning driving to work and see 50,000 yard signs still in the middle of the street on the corners of the sidewalks. It was my understanding that when we passed the yard sale ordinance, there was a fee for the permit. And part of that fee, I may be wrong, but part of that fee was to help solve this problem. So we could have a track on it. We need to get our yard sales under control. At least the advertising of the yard sales. Drug houses and gang houses, we're told we can't do anything. Yes, we can. It is state law that if our police department knows of a drug house or knows of a gang house, has to contact the owner and advise them of that. That's state law, and we're not doing that. Why? I think lots of times our city doesn't respond well to our citizens. Emails aren't returned, phone calls aren't returned. I think we need to look at the way we do business. I think our code enforcement, I think our police department, they may need some training. And we need as a council to back them up. We need to give them the tools that they need to do their job, to help the city look as good as Zilla, look as good as Grandview, look as good as Prosser. We don't. We look like the trash bin of the Lower Valley, excuse the word, but we do. And it's because we're not holding our citizens accountable for laws that we have or we should have. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Farmer, other comments or reports by council members? To start.
I'm going to be attending the AWC conference in Vancouver next week, Tuesday through Friday morning, I believe. I don't know, there's a place on there to be the delegate for the city. I don't know if I've been okay to be the delegate for the city. Maybe Mr. Restucci knows how that operates.
Mr. Restucci, are you able to answer that question?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. So when the council takes action and recommends the 3 delegates for the AWC conference, the clerk transmits a letter to the AWC informing them of our delegates, and then those names are added to the delegate list. When you arrive, Ms. Hart, you'll go to the desk and they'll have the delegate sticker for you.
Thank you.
Mr. Restucci does not answer that question on this council. Nobody knows how to
Nobody
answer
can.
that question. So you are a valuable resource as well, also a valuable person on this council, Mr. Restucci.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Other announcements or reports or questions by council members? Okay, well, I have a couple of things. Number one, I had the privilege of attending the ribbon cutting for the skate park, and that is a beautiful facility. Now, I'm an individual who cannot stand on a skateboard without something to hang on to on either side, but I admire those kids who are out there and able to do that. Some of them are very accomplished, and it's just, it was fun to be there. I think they were all excited to be there. I got to be in a picture with the Rotarians. They were there for the ribbon cutting. I still got to be in the picture. That was cool. But no, I'm excited about that. I've been behind the skate park since it was first proposed. When I was first on council, I thought it was a great idea. We were not exactly flush with funds at the time. It wasn't something the city could do. So when the Rotary got onto that one, I was pretty happy about it, and I love the results. So that was fun to attend, and I think it's used constantly, and it's a great resource for our kids here in the city. So I think that's a great thing. I do have a question. Like other council members, I've been hearing a lot of reports about noisy cars racing up and down, specifically Swan Road and nearby streets. Apparently, Northwest Crescent, Southwest Crescent, with the curves and everything, are seen as slalom courses. They go down there at ridiculous rates of speed. So there any times when side-by-sides, RVs, you know, the kind that people buy to take up in the mountains, are they allowed on our city streets?
Ever?
Yeah, the side-by-sides have to pass they have to be roadworthy, so they have to have lights, mirrors, things like that that are appropriate and of the appropriate height, width, and projection. The lumens projection has to be there. So it'll really depend on the model that's out there. And in many cities also have an ordinance that address side-by-side snowmobiles, things of that nature, and it does fall into that. Ours, we don't. We just go by the RCW.
Okay, do they need to have a license plate?
Yeah, they'd have to be licensed to be out here, and they generally will have an ORV plate, and what they have done in other communities, especially in the county where it's rural and they have heavy snow, things of that nature, they don't require that, and that is put in. That's also put in an ordinance that allows them to operate on those specific streets without vehicle licensing. However, ORV license is required.
Okay, but we don't currently have any requirement for that, then, is what you're saying?
Yeah, there's nothing that I'm aware of that we have for side-by-sides, but it is, but they, for the most part, most of your side-by-sides, especially the advanced, the newer versions, I think the majority of those are street legal for the most part. There are little things that probably are not, such as mud flaps, things like that, that may constitute a stop, but for the most part, they're built that way.
It's the vehicle that was parked at Jitters over the weekend.
I don't know where it was parked. I was behind it at the intersection of YVH and 6th Street, and it was in the left turn lane. I have pictures if you want to see it, but I was just confused as to why it was allowed on a public street without a license plate. And that individual drives by my house regularly, and the music is so loud I can hear it long before it comes by. It is loud enough to be quite offensive, and there's not a lot of things that bother me. People's music is their own, and I don't worry too much about it, but this was just getting ridiculous. I don't know where this person lives, but it's constantly going by my house, and I've seen it several times downtown. May have been at Jitters over the weekend, I don't know.
Well, keep in mind, the ORV plate is not really a plate, it's a sticker about 2 inches tall and 4 inches long.
Okay.
And it usually goes on the round.
Correct.
Okay, well, I'll take a look at my picture again, but yeah, if he's allowed on the street, that's fine. But if somebody comes up behind him and he's got his radio on, if you would kindly advise him that maybe the rest of the city would not want to necessarily hear all of his music. All right, and that's what I've got. Other council members have anything to add yet? Move on, upcoming council meetings, Madam City Manager.
Okay, so a reminder that next week we have the community forum on Tuesday from 4:30 to 6:30 at City Hall. And then regular meeting, June 27th, we have the Franklin Court Water Main Improvement Contract Award. I believe we're going to move the Sunnyside School District water line easement to a farther meeting. We're still trying to get the property descriptions and the easement document ready. And then we'll be have a discussion, not a vote, for the enterprise vehicle program. And that's all we have for right now.
I noticed, Madam City Manager, that the workshop is going to be held on Tuesday the 5th as opposed to the 4th. I've seen it a couple places, the 4th, and I was thinking, that's going to be tricky.
No, we're having it Tuesday on July 5th.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if words would be enough. Nobody would like that one. All right, council members, if there's anything you need to add to an agenda, please speak to myself or the city manager, and we can get that on. Next item is items from department heads. Madam City Manager.
Excuse me. I'm going to start with Jackie. Ms. Red Bahia.
The only thing I would say is, again, if you have anything that you see on our website, just let us know. Some staff in each department have the ability to edit those pages. Some of them can just talk to me and I can help them. And that's it. helping Mayor with, the commission applications that have been coming in. And just waiting.
Mr. Fisher?
Nothing further.
Ms. Warner?
Thank you. I just have a few things. I'll try and be brief. I wanted to let you know that the pool opening was Saturday, and it was open for free for everyone by donation, from the Sunnyside CDL school, I believe. And, they had excellent attendance, and we actually had good weather. Like Sunday, where it poured all day, so, Glenn was ecstatic at the amount of people that showed up, and, I guess it was tons of fun. I stopped by, it looked fun. And then also I wanted to let you know that we have given out just over $3,000 in the low-income scholarships for youth recreation. So we will likely come back to you with a request for more money, and I'll do that on the budget amendment, for the second quarter that we do in July. So we'll ask for some additional funding for recreation programs at that time. And the finance department, I just wanted to let you know that the end of May is the deadline for filing our annual report for 2021. We successfully did that in time, and we also filed our annual ARPA reporting that is required. And then the municipal court has been short-staffed pretty much the entire year, but they have a new staff member starting next week, so hopefully, the window will be able to be open as much as possible. I know it is frustrating sometimes when there's not enough staff to keep everything open for people, so hopefully that situation will be resolved. That's all I got.
Mr. Anderson?
Good evening, council members. I guess the only thing I have to report on is on the 21st, we had that fire in, at the nutrient plant on February 28th. On the 21st Tuesday in Yakima, the LEPC committee meeting, Captain Denver's going to do a small presentation after action review. So if anybody's interested in coming, it's at between noon and 1:30 at the emergency management.
Mayor Chief Escalera?
Yes, good evening again. The police department has been currently working with code enforcement, and we have been teaming up to address particular problem neighborhoods that have people of interest that reside within those. But we are really turning towards spatial analytics to where we are addressing locations and creating intervention areas within these locations and determining the type of resources that need to be put into those things, which will encompass most of the city from time to time. So cleaning up and holding people accountable for some of the simplest things is definitely there, but there's also some other things in mind as we are progressing through it. Also tomorrow, the police department is hosting a public forum basically to discuss the crime issues that are going on within the city and what it is that the community could do to help us with it and to help themselves. This is their community. It's their problems to bear. However, we are there to help and stimulate some ideas and hopefully hear some great ideas from the public. You folks on council are all certainly welcome to attend. It's at 5 o'clock at the community center. It goes until about 6:30. So we are looking forward to that. So anyway, it's kind of the start of the education process as to what the restrictions in law have put on the police department and how come they're seeing a different level of service and kind of explain the increase in crime. So with that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, and I'm going to give you a short report. I know you hear from me every week on a weekly basis, but I want to let you know a few things that have happened just in the recent days. I've had 2 different communities reach out to us to do other types of, basically to assist. One city's requesting IT services, another city this evening requested for us to assist them with building inspectors. So I can see more and more that the cities are all reaching out to each other and saying, what can you do to help me? And then I'm now reaching back out and saying, okay, let's trade, because you've got something that you do that I'm not. And I think that this, Lower Valley, we're going to see Sunnyside become the hub. And we may not take the lead on everything, but I think that we will be looked at as a community that shares the workload and the other communities share the cost. And I think that that's where we're going to see our long run and our long-term growth. We'll be able to grow and accommodate some of the needs of these other cities. And, I'm not going to give a lot of details right now, but I do think that this is kind of the future of smaller cities. And for us being the second largest city in the valley, I think that we will need to take the lead on some things. And if we're doing it right, then let's share it. So I just wanted to give, the citizens that and council to know that we are looking for partnerships actively. And we're going to not only ask them to help us when they're asking us. So we think that there's a lot of these positions that we're creating will have the opportunity to be shared with other communities, especially when you look at the grant writer. We talked tonight about animal control, and so I think that there are ways for us to really do good things here. And we do have some things with code enforcement that Corey Taylor, who is our new building inspector, has brought forward. There is an international appearance, something, I'd have to look at it, it's on my desk. But basically it's saying this is how your yard and your house is supposed to look. And if we adopt that code, then that would help code enforcement with enforcement. So, if there's little things that he's bringing to the table that, formerly working in Grandview, that he has ideas, and so he's given me a short list of things that we can do. So I'll be bringing that forward as we can, so that you guys will know that we're working on it. This isn't something that we're just sitting on, it's actively being worked on. So that's all I have.
I have one thing just to add, just because you're talking about community development. Don't forget that our new community and economic development director will be starting this month, I believe, on the 27th.
I have one question related to items from department heads that, if I really fast, so I can get it asked. Mr. Fisher, can you tell us when you're going to be started doing your summer street maintenance, chip sealing and that sort of thing? Is that coming up here shortly, or what's on the agenda?
Yeah, they're doing crack filling right now, and then starting July, they'll start doing the.
Okay, I've been having a couple of questions there. I've been noticing we've got some potholes that have grown over the winter, and they're continuing to grow. Maybe we want to get ahead of these, so.
Yeah, that's also part of the weather we're having, those instruments melt out when it rains, so. Trying to patch. We'll patch everything, what they do is they'll do a bulk patch. We go and get a load from Luther or something, and we go around and they'll do all the patching at one time. We have several water crossings, some other utilities, CenturyLink and Cascade Natural Gas got some open, that are graveled over that we need to patch as well. So they're prepping those things right now, and then of course chip seal will start.
Sure. Thank you. All right. There being no further business to come before council, and without objection, this meeting is adjourned at 8:07 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council. Good night.
Good night.
Night.